As I sat down on an open field in the beautiful land of Stonehenge, where there is so much unlimited land to what the eye could see, from where I stood, not far from the stones but close enough to see them, I looked up and there too was an open field of unlimited skies. My whole face lit up. I smiled with joy as tears ran down my face. I'm happy and I'm about to burst with joy, but I'm also very emotional. I feel like a little child again that just discovered their favourite toy in the world. I've never in my life seen such a wonderful landscape. This is my first time here, although I've lived in the UK my whole life. It's been a long time for me up to that point that I've been living in the city, and circumstances didn't allow me to leave at that time. It's like my whole existence was yearning for this. I saw the sky like I'm seeing it for the first time ever, like I had no notice of it my whole life up to this point. Because the way I saw the skies, I saw them with so much realizations about how we all abandon our own POVs majority of our lives, if not all of it. Yes, our own beloved POVs. This was the moment I felt joy for realizing this, and also dread and fear of what if I hadn't realized this and ended up missing out. If I had not observed enough for this realization to actually come. Every time I saw the skies at Stonehenge the 3 days I stayed there, I saw them like I'm seeing them for the first time all over again. I didn't get bored or have enough. There was so much to look at, so much to see every single time. Observing and watching quickly became a talent. The more I did it and slowed down, the more I noticed how every moment is just perfect. Like someone had scripted it and directed it, yet it's just effortless. This is true art. I fell in love with observing everything around me. This is the best screen in the world. I love this screen. As I felt the ground and touched the grass, a realization came in. So that's what this big massive thing is, our sky. It's a screen. This is our original screen that has now been replaced by human-made screens that you look down to rather than looking up to. That's what takes our energies away. This is what rinses our batteries. That's what steals our serotonin, our happiness, our intelligence, our bravery, and our potential. Instead of looking up as a nation, we all now look down. We used to look up back in the days. Now as a nation, we all look down. Let me just deep that once again. That sums and explains the mental state of this nation. We look down on this little screen, forgetting the biggest screen to ever exist. How did we forget when it's right in front of us? Why is it that even when we go out to nature, people are still on their phones? Why are we all so absent-minded? We're there, but we're not really there. Tears running down my face again. But this time, I'm emotional, I'm speechless, and I'm sad. So I sit there in silence to my own thoughts and let them carry on, ripping my mind to pieces. I realize that the best POV in the world is my own POV, no one else's. I start to laugh and cry at the same time. I'm so happy, but I'm also so sad. I love this feeling. I love going insane. I love losing my mind on the field. This POV from which I can learn so much about life if I use with observation and being present rather than on autopilot, on existing mode rather than on survival mode, constantly in our heads, on our phones, in our heads, on screens, in our heads, with people in our heads, in nature in our heads. Thoughts kept me up all night. I'm in my head too, but I'm also there. I'm on a screen, but a massive one, watching and observing, realizing and understanding. having profound thoughts about life, existence, humans, old age, our planet, and this nation. The thoughts were heavy, very heavy and harsh, but they were also true, so I stayed. I stayed up all night on the field, just observing the nighttime sky as its bulbs switch on, sort of magically appear. I watched the magic of how all the stars in this landscape have been placed perfectly, especially designed for this piece of land, decorating it with magnificence, the most perfect finish to such a beautiful artistic image. I stayed on the field all day and all night, just wandering around for 3 whole days. Had barely anything to eat or drink all 3 days. No phone, no friends, and no tent. But do you know what? I was happy, I was content, I was in bliss. I didn't care about anything. The thought of food and drink didn't even occur to me. I was just happy to exist, to be there, to enjoy these moments. I wanted to stay there forever and never go home. The stars were just perfect. Where I stood, I saw the most perfect flat sky in my life, with vibrant star colors, sparkling, twinkling, shooting stars, just absolute magic. I thought to myself, wow, whoever thought and decided to bring the stones here is a true genius. They really thought this very well through. Pick the most perfect location to build. This is when I realized that observation is what allowed our ancestors to build like this. If the person with the thought didn't come here a lot and spend loads of time observing the skies and everything around, they would have never made that decision. We all wonder how they did that. How did the stones get there? How did they even build the pyramids? Even in 2025, with all the technology we have, the knowledge we have, the science we discovered, all of that, yet we still can't figure out how they did all of that, how they built any of that. With all the brains that we had and have throughout our modern intelligent generations, why do we admire our ancestors and their brains so much if we have the best technology and knowledge? Maybe the truth is the way they chose to live this life. Look at how they lived back then compared to how we live now in 2025. Those people had no screens for a reason. They knew what the best screen in the world was. Maybe they had the thought and intelligence to actually have internet and social media back then, but they just simply chose not to and decided not to bother as they knew the consequences of that. They just didn't need to. They knew exactly what true luxury was, what the best screen in the world was. If I built something to make me look down to and look away, then I'd be robbing myself one of the best pleasures about existing. I'd be stealing my own joy and chance to learn and explore. I'd be putting myself in a cage and keeping myself chained in there and lose all sense of freedom about my being. That is true intelligence. Look at how these days when you go out anywhere, I can guarantee you that most people are just looking down on their phones rather than looking up and around. Maybe our ancestors built what they built, how they built it, and had great intelligent brains, enabled them to do what they did because they had no screens, no social media. Social media, and I call it social status, is designed for people who are social and want to stay social. Being social is exactly why none of us even have time to observe anything else.
Life is so fucking good.
They teach us from a young age that socializing is a must-have society standard and a skill that must be earned through only socializing with other humans all the time. So you socialize throughout your whole life, till the day you die. And even if you have no one to talk to, you're still on social media watching everyone else. We're constantly, unconsciously killing our brain cells instead of producing new ones. I don't think our ancestors and people that built places like Egypt or Rome even had the time to socialize with other people. Observing requires one to be alone in order to think and make sense of things. The journey is completely alone. Our ancestors were too busy observing the world around them, too busy thinking, too busy dreaming, too busy creating. They didn't have time for people. They didn't have time to socialize. That's why they knew what they knew. If they had time for people, they wouldn't have created the things we see in 2025 and wonder how they were even thought and built. Our brains cannot comprehend any of it because we lost touch with the real screen from which you receive information. Not religious or spiritual information, rather imagination and creativity. The more we observe, the more our brains will wonder, question, and get creative, and create new pathways and new brain cells. There is no limit to how much a mind can expand. Our ancestors realized this very well. They knew how to expand their consciousness well before scientists even discovered the brain and how it works. The same scientists that cannot explain till this day how our ancestors did what they did. I believe science makes everything so much more complex than it is. Living is simple, easy, and effortless. We just love to complicate things as humans. We constantly use our brains as a tool to create things that make us miserable, thinking that this is maybe intelligence. But what if our intelligence made us miserable? Are we still intelligent then? Is intelligence being sucked into this programmed way of living? School, work, retire, die? Is that what people see as a successful good life? If that's society's idea of a good life, then it explains why we think we're the most intelligent species to ever exist.